The New York Knicks have 16 games left this season after finishing up their West Coast trip. A lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Karl Anthony Towns debate, offensive struggles, defense on the rise. We hit it all. And, of course, trivia.
Run that intro.
They're playing basketball. Basketball.
You're listening to the Knicks Nation podcast, where we've got all your Knicks needs covered.
Puts up a three. Bang! Bang! He ties the game!
Now, live from the city that never sleeps, here are your hosts, Anthony and Chris.
What is going on, Knicks Nation? Welcome to episode 100 of the Knicks Nation podcast. Let's go, Chris. Episode 100. Honestly, couldn't have thanked you guys for the support. We really appreciate the support. Obviously, it means the world to us. Hopefully, we are here to do 100 more of these things, Chris. Look, Chris and I started this podcast a couple of years ago because we love the Knicks. So thank you all.
Yes,
really appreciate it. 100 episodes, Chris. We here. We made it.
Can't believe it. 100 episodes, man. I still remember getting on here for the first few I did with you and just being so nervous, man. But fast forward to now, 100 episodes. And like you said, couldn't do it without everybody, all the supporters, appreciate your time, giving us your time and just, hearing us out. And it's like Ann said, it's a passion play. We love doing this. We love the New York Knicks. So it's an honor. It's an honor. So 100 episodes, man. It's time flies.
Time flies, man. 100 episodes. Really appreciate it. See you guys in the chat. Really appreciate all of you over on the YouTube side. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, please leave us a rating. Give us a little thumbs up. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify. We're really trying to grow the audio side as well. Link is all up in the description. Really appreciate that as well. Your New York Knicks have left. All right, enough about us, Chris. Let's talk some Knicks. But really appreciate it. A lot of stuff, lot of places where we can go. Knicks dapping up Draymond at the end of the game. Josh Hart, Tom Thibodeau, they seem like they squashed their little squabble. Knicks offensive struggles. Defense is on the rise. But I don't know, Chris. I kind of want to start positive, right? Kind of want to start positive.
Why not? Why not? Let's start positive because there's been a lot of negatives floating around,
Yeah, so the positives are obviously OG Anunoby has been playing phenomenal for this team. He's been creating more. He's been going downhill more, using his body to create contact and just obliterating players. And his efficiency has been off the charts lately. He was being guarded by Jimmy Butler versus the Golden State Warriors, and he just couldn't guard him. He even trucked Draymond Green on the ground. Shout out to OG Anunoby for doing that. Somebody stepped up to Draymond in that regard, but OG Anunoby, Chris, has just been phenomenal. And look, he's healthy. He's been dominant. He's on pace to play the most games since his rookie season. He's played in 60 this year. And weird OG Anunoby stat, he's shooting just 47% on layups this year, 97 out of 205. Mikel at 67% for comparison, but just wanted to give OG Anunoby his props, Chris, because he's just been phenomenal for this team. And look, obviously we have offensive struggles, late game execution. We could talk about that. We'll get to that, but just want to give OG Anunoby his some light coming starting up this pod.
Yeah, I think it's well deserved for OG Anunoby. I mean, look, we needed guys to step up, obviously with Jalen Brunson going down. And it took OG a bit, after coming back from the injury. He started off slow. It didn't seem like the same OG Anunoby that we were used to. But as time has gone on, the defense has been there and the offense has been there as well. He's attacking. He's being aggressive. And that's what I love to see from OG Anunoby. Like you mentioned, trucking Draymond Green and just taking it to Jimmy Butler as well. You can't say nothing but good things about OG Anunoby, especially the run of games he's been having as of late. And comes at a time when we need it the most, right? With the captain being down. So shout out to OG. Keep it up because we need it.
Speaking of the captain, it's been a few games, Chris, and I miss Jalen Brunson dearly. Miss him dearly.
Yeah.
But, okay, Mikal Bridges, Chris, has been way better in my opinion as well. 16 free throw attempts in his last 4 games. So after the Lakers game where he only attempted 6 field goal attempts, he's been getting to the line at a tremendous rate. 20 assists in his last 4 games. And that's where I kind of wanted to start with 20 assists in his last 4 games, Chris. And I would like the offense to kind of run through him more, because what you're seeing lately is this Knicks offensive scheme, offensive game plan. You had Josh Hart yelling at Tom Thibodeau regarding that, to run a damn play. Just really hasn't been where this coaching staff needs it to be currently with the captain down. So, look, Deuce, I thought in that Golden State game was creating a lot, and I thought, even some off the dribble stuff, he was converting, and he was awesome in my opinion. But, had that bad turnover there, the inbounding play, but I just thought that was coaching, because you don't allow Deuce to inbound that basketball, in my personal opinion. But 20 assists for Mikal Bridges in his last 4 games. I would kind of have him just be the lead guard coming up the floor and just kind of, look, they've had him do that more. His usage has gone up now with Jalen down, and he's played better, Chris. The free throws have been up. Obviously, he had the big game winner in Portland. His mid-range is elite. So I just would like to see more of Mikal being utilized within this offense, and just have the guys feed off of Mikal, because I think right now the Knicks are struggling to generate points, right? And they're struggling to get in their sets. They're struggling to find a rhythm offensively, because, and this stems back from, their last 9 games. I have it that in their last 9 games, they have the third worst offensive rating at 109.7, Chris. So want to see more Mikal.
Yeah, same here. I mean, that's what I was talking about when, unfortunately JB went down. I was like, look, I want to start seeing guys like Mikal. I want to start seeing guys like OG Anunoby. I want to see more play calling for those guys, right? And we started to see some of that. Obviously, throughout the past couple of games. And, Mikal has looked good. One thing for sure you can say is that, the ball is moving around, which is nice. The ball is moving around. Everybody's touching the ball. You're seeing Cat even get more involved now.
Yeah.
And I hope that's something that continues when Brunson gets back. But like you mentioned, it still gets difficult for this squad to just get quality, looks at times. We go through these periods of times where it's just like a drought almost. So again, I still say that goes back to Thibs, having to be more creative. You gotta, it can't always, in my opinion, it can't always be just read and react. You gotta draw some plays out there. And we see it at times. Thibs can draw up some nice, plays out of like an inbound pass or something like that. But I think it has to be more like get Mikal the ball, set up a play at the top, something different, And whether you want to say maybe Thibs is saving that for the playoffs or something, I don't know. But, I just think we got to get more creative. And just to echo back to what I've been saying for a long time now.
And I don't think that's something he's saving for the playoffs, because I just think that stemmed from the frustration in that Golden State game. Loud and Clear brought up a great point. Deuce was also amazing on Steph Curry against the Golden State Warriors, was tiring him out, had his body up against him just all night long, just draped all over Steph Curry, and made it tough on Steph Curry. But yeah, the offensive stuff, it's funny how it flips, right? It's like defense has been better. Our last 9 games, we have the second best defensive rating in the NBA and the third worst offensive rating in the NBA. So it's kind of like flipped. And now defensively, since Mitchell Robinson has come back, obviously it has improved. And Deuce, obviously being in the starting lineup lately, has improved that as well. But offensively has just taken a hit, and but it's kind of like something that I personally point that to coaching, because he could put his players in certain situations where they can succeed, right? And look, Thibs has been in the media in these last couple of weeks, especially this past week, now with the heart screaming at him, but they squashed it, family drama. And it just happens that Mikal had the comments last week regarding the minute situation. But look, okay, positives, right? So Mikal positive. Cat, I think was dominant in that game. It just stink that nobody showed up besides,
Yeah.
OG Anunoby, Mikel, and Deuce. I mean, everyone else was just MIA in the game versus Golden State, and Cat was just dominant. And it's a shame that nobody else pretty much. I really wanted that game for Karl Anthony Towns.
Same.
And obviously, it leads into, David in the chat says it's a shame Cat's teammates didn't have his back. If I'm Towns, I would demand a trade out of here. Man, oh man. All right, so anything to say about Cat regarding his play, Chris, before we get to this video clip that you like? Because I think he's been shooting his three better, and he's just been, in my opinion, he's been Cat.
Yeah, he's been, he's rounding back into his form. I feel like he's getting, like I mentioned, he's getting more involved now. And he was being aggressive, man. I wanted that game as well, man. Obviously, everything that's going around with Draymond Green and whatnot. And like you mentioned, Cat brought it. He held up his part and then some. And it's just a shame that the Knicks couldn't find a way to win that game for him. And yeah, I got no complaints about Cat, man. I know sooner or later he's gonna break out of that funk he was in, and we're starting to see it now.
Appreciate every single one of you guys tuning in the chat. We see you all in the chat. David says Golden State scored only 97 points. Cat had 29 points and 12 rebounds in only 29 minutes. Cat was one of the useful players yesterday. How about Josh Hart having 0 points in 39 minutes? Absolute goose egg from Mr. Josh Hart. Just terrible basketball being played from Hart, from Precious, from Campaign. Just no-showed against the Golden State Warriors, and that's ultimately why this Knicks team lost that game. Look, 2-3 on a 11-day West Coast trip. You lost your captain. You're away for almost 2 weeks. Now the Knicks come back home, and they actually have a really easy schedule. So the weird season continues. It's just, they're going to solidify themselves in the third seed. I believe the magic number is 6 or 7, if I'm not mistaken, to just be a top 6 seed. And they're going to get the third seed, and it's just going to be a matter of who we play in the first round. But we'll get there. We'll get there. This Rover, what's going on? I appreciate you in the chat. Appreciate all of you in the chat. Jada says the problem on how players guard Hart can be fixed if Hart is the only non-shooter on the floor. Woody says, very sad, 30-year-old guy versus 70-year-old on national TV. Come on, what a shame. Jaden says, great to see Cat getting back to his old self, and seems that finger isn't impeding him as much anymore. Yeah, and that was a concern, Chris, his finger, because he said that he was just going to play through it, and we thought like the three-point shot was just not going to get better because, remember, he went through a little bit of a funk. But now you're seeing him shoot with confidence. You see him shoot at the top of the key more. You're seeing him shoot above the break. He's just playing amazing basketball. And look, this offense is going to have to figure some things out, especially in late game situations. I mean, you had the Portland game where they almost blew it. The Lakers game they lost when Jalen Brunson went out. And the Golden State game, they made blunders down the stretch. So, yeah, you can blame it. If you were to set up a pie chart, I would say 50-50. Obviously, the players got to perform, right? Hart just can't go out there and give you 0 points. It can't happen.
Yeah. That can't happen. I mean, I love Josh Hart, but we've been seeing it way too much as of recent, especially late in these games. Teams are just not even defending the man when he's at the three-point line. When he's on the perimeter, the guys are backing up. You're seeing teams putting their center on Josh Hart. Yeah. Which, look, at that point, just shoot the ball, But you're seeing the old Josh Hart creep back, hesitating, not wanting to take shots, indecisive. And ultimately, that's killing us late in games, whether it's a turnover or a bad pass, just because he's not, making up his mind with what he wants to do. So that's been a big issue for me, something that pisses me off, to be, frank. Like, I can't stand that.
And I can't stand, you know what else I can't stand? Precious Achiuwa minutes, Chris. That's what I can't stand. But we'll get to him. We'll get to him. I love Precious, love the person, obviously love him. Great story, but he's just been a net negative for this team lately, and he's in a funk right now
crazy.
for this team. All right, let's get to the story at hand. We'll talk about this briefly, Chris, and then we'll move on. So this is at the end of the game. You had Karl Anthony Towns walking off. Draymond Green's in the picture, dapped up. Boot champ, don't really care about him. He's on a 10-day. Then they show Cat walking off. Then Mitchell Robinson actually dapped up Karl Anthony Towns too before this clip, by the way. So Mitchell Robinson dapped up Draymond Green. Then you had Mikal Bridges dap up Draymond Green. Look at this. I mean, and then you had PJ Tucker, the enforcer who we wanted to come into the game and lay Draymond Green out, dapping up Draymond Green. This was a hot topic after the game, Chris. Where do you lie on it?
I mean, personally, I don't like it, man. We all know the situation. Obviously, Cat going through some very personal stuff. Draymond Green making up some crazy narrative that he heard he's ducking Jimmy Butler. Meanwhile, Cat is, going through it with his family after losing a loved one, So for them to just be like, and especially with Draymond Green not actually ever apologizing, not even close to apologizing to Cat for, the bad take he had, then you got your teammates just going up and just, giving hugs to Draymond Green after a hard-fought loss.
Yeah.
I don't like it. But, I'm trying to look at it from in a different light and think maybe since Cat came out and said, hey, peace and love, maybe teammates were like, all right, we're just going to let it be. That's the only thing I could think of. But I don't like it, man. How do you feel, Ann? How do you feel on this?
I don't like this at all, man. I just figure, everyone heard the situation with Draymond in the media. Cat was obviously taking a high road, and obviously he was being a professional about it. But it was bothering Cat. They were talking crap during the game. Cat was going back and forth between, Draymond Green, and it came out recently what was being said. A lot of vulgar language was what was being said from Cat, and you love it. You love Cat in his bag, in his element, locked in. And then after the game, you see Mikal, you see Mitch, you see Beauchamp, which I don't really care about. He's on a 10-day, so he's not on my team. Then you see, who else am I missing? PJ Tucker, which, look, I get it. They're friends. Tucker and Draymond, they've been around the block a few times. But I was shocked I just don't understand. And a lot of people were saying that this tells me that there's kind of like a disconnect in the locker room that was being floated out there. And I don't think there's a disconnect in the locker room, but I would never think after what went down in these last couple of weeks that, it would just be buddy at the end of the game. Like, you can just put all that aside and not get your teammates back and just move on and just look, these guys are not going to see the Golden State Warriors again until unless we face them in the NBA Finals. But Draymond Green, I think, is just an idiot. And seeing this, I don't know. Part of me is like, look, these guys are part of me is like, these guys really don't care what's being said about them in the media. And look, friends are friends, I guess. But I don't like it.
Yeah. I still don't like it. Personally, I still don't like it. I mean, I guess it would be something different if maybe Cat went up to Draymond after the game and gave him a dab, and maybe that's the way to they squashed it. Then the teammates come and follow suit. I could understand something like that more than Cat, storming out, basically walking back, not dapping anybody up, obviously pissed off. But for his teammates to then just give hugs and dabs to Draymond, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, and then I see everyone in the chat. 90s Knicks, Ewing, Starks, and certainly not Oak would have never. Wayne in the chat said, "Oh, Knicks would never let that slide." Ron B says his team is soft. Yeah, look, a lot of disrespectful things were said about. The thing is, a lot of disrespect. I think the crux of it, Chris, is Draymond Green was being extremely just disrespectful and just arrogant and just an
Yeah.
a-hole as Cat
Yeah.
was dealing with a death, and he just pretty much insinuated that he was ducking him. And then Cat, in my opinion, just I mean, he let his game speak for himself. He was awesome.
Yeah.
And I love the trash talk. I love OG Anunoby pushing him on his ass. And I don't really know what to make of it, because are we reading too much into it? We could be.
Possibly.
You know, is it just one of those things where, look, are they trolling us? I don't know, but I just if I was Karl Anthony Towns' teammate, Chris, there's no way in hell I'm dapping up Draymond Green at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fuming. I'm getting my teammates back. I'm riding with my guys. You remember the Minnesota Timberwolves last year? They all boycotted TNT because I forgot who they were talking bad about. Rudy Gobert. I think they were talking bad about Rudy Gobert. They all boycotted TNT. We're in this together. And that's where I think a lot of Knicks fans are sensing that kind of disconnect, that, you know, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's kind of like a disconnect, but I would just say that's where the crux of the argument's coming from. So,
Yeah. I mean, look, I personally don't think it should have went down like that. And if I'm Cat, you know, do you get upset? Do you say, hey, you know? But like you mentioned, are we just reading into this way too much? You know, that quite frankly, that could also be the case. But I just don't like it, man. You mean you see Cat there storming back, and the teammates are just like, "Hey, Draymond, great game, man." Like nothing happened, you know. And Draymond had his chances to apologize, you know, say, "Hey, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't know this is what was happening." But no, he just, like you mentioned, he continued to be an ass and just, you know, play that villain role, right? That villain role to get some clicks for his podcast.
yeah. And a lot of people were upset about PJ Tucker, but he's on a 10-day and he hasn't played yet in a Knicks uniform. He's brought the energy off the bench, but these guys have history together. PJ Tucker's 39 years old. He's been in the NBA a long time. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's to me, I didn't like it, Chris. I didn't like it, but it's like, what are you going to do about it? You know, it just shows that the Knicks teammates don't have each other's back, but I don't really want to say that because I think that they do, but it's been a weird season, man.
I don't want to say they don't have his back, but I also look, this isn't the 80s, this isn't the 90s, you know, where things were just, you know, so physical, right? This is just a different era. And I hate to say that because obviously when you play that video, it looks like, you know, hey, Cat's walking back and all his teammates are just like, all right, we're just going to give Draymond Green hugs right now. So like, it looks bad, but maybe it's more than, we're making it more than what it is, you know?
Yeah, maybe, but I didn't like it. But you move on. It is what it is. So Yuri says, listen, the NBA is soft, period. Ain't nobody trying to get fined. El Figgy says, loved OG Anunoby for having Karl Anthony Towns back. Yes, did not see OG Anunoby dapping up nobody at the end of the game. Ron B says, Draymond crossed the line of decency by dissing Cat while he was mourning. Yeah, I mean, that's it. And to me, that was kind of a line that shouldn't have been crossed, and it was. And, you know, no repercussions. You move on. You give Draymond daps at the end of the game. I mean, it is what it is. El Figure says 90s rivalries made the NBA fun to watch. That's the Warriors game was a fun watch, Chris, because of the going back and forth. And that's why I love that type of stuff. Like OG Anunoby putting Draymond on his butt, Cat and him going back and forth. But, you know, it's a different world. It's a different world. Like, it's 2025, and what you're seeing is this Knicks team is clearly they've been thrown out. Have you seen the soft label for this Knicks team, Chris? I've seen it. A lot of people are calling this Knicks team soft. So, I mean, I just think that was kind of fuel to the fire yesterday after the Draymond comments, seeing people dap up Draymond. But again, it is what it is, you know. It is what it is. I see a lot of people saying Dante would never do that. Ski says soft. David says this makes me not want to be a Knicks fan anymore.
Damn.
Yeah. It's one of those subjects, Chris, where you don't like it, but it's 2025 and these guys, I guess they're fine with it. They're cool with it. So I guess we have to be too, but I'm not gonna be cool with that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like it, but again, you know, Cat. I think Cat set the precedence with his comment, right, where he said, "Hey, you know, he took the high road, you know, peace and love, and which is great, you know, but you would like to see maybe his teammates, you know, don't go dab out Draymond Green, you know, walk back with Cat, you know, do anything, but you know, give this guy a hug, basically, but." It is what it is.
It look at Mikal. It's Mikel's face that kills me right here. Like it's like, come on, bro. Like tapping his head too. I guess you could say he little broed him. Like, all right, little bro, appreciate you, but I
don't know, man.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't like it. Look, that's 2 games where you should have beat the Warriors, and it's just an unfortunate. The offensive schemes at the end of these games has just been abysmal, and you know, I mean, there's nothing more we can do, but you know, so how can the offensive stuff get fixed, Chris? Now with JB on the shelf, you know, I mean, where do we go? I mean, Precious Achiuwa. I mean, we can go to the bench. Precious Achiuwa has been abysmal. I mean, I could put up a graphic. And you guys are going to be like, Precious Achiuwa has a plus minus of minus 49 this season.
Man.
I don't know. Wizen says they want to get on his podcast. LOL. Talking about Draymond Green.
Oh, man.
But
yeah. I don't know what happened to Precious, man. He was solid off that bench. And then it seems like, you know, after the break even, he's just missing, man. He's just missing. He's taking these crazy shots that just, I don't know if it's just his way of trying to be aggressive, you know, and just force his will almost. But these turnaround jumpers, he's taking these wild jumpers from the midi, which, I mean, it was like an air ball recently that, you know, some of these 3-point shots that he's hitting, trying to make from the corners are just like not even close. I don't know what it is. I don't know what had happened to Precious, man. But, man, he's falling off a cliff.
He is. And Tom Thibodeau keeps throwing out a lineup with Precious, Mitchell Robinson, and Josh Hart. The spacing is just abysmal. And it's one of the worst rated lineups from the time that they're out there. And Precious, has he had his moments? Yes. Has he played good in spurts? Yes. Yeah. Love the person, love the story. But what you're seeing is just a player just, I think, not playing with any sense of confidence. He's looking like his batteries are dying out there. He's just kind of running in slow motion at times. Had some good defensive possessions versus the Warriors. But, I mean, the numbers tell the story with Precious. And Tom Thibodeau is all about the numbers, right? And he trusts Precious. And it's unfortunate that Hukporti went down because I think he would have been playing rather than Precious right now. But in my opinion, Chris, I mean, you sign Tucker. There's not anything Tucker. I think Tucker can do everything you want Precious Achiuwa to do, if not more. And look, we haven't seen Tucker play in a year and a half. But he's 39 years old. Tucker can hit the corner 3, something Precious can't do. I know Precious, sometimes he'll hit a corner 3, and then you clap it up and be like, oh, snap, Precious hit a 3. Congrats. But he had a bad turnover on a fast break versus the Warriors. They found him below the free throw line. He airballed it, and it's just stuff like that, which I don't understand the coach's thinking behind that. Defensively, I get it sometimes, but the spacing with Precious, they try to use him as a 5 sometimes, and he's not a 5. He can't stretch the floor. Has he had some positive games? Yes, but he's in a funk. And this is where Knicks fans want Tom Thibodeau to switch it up. You know, you traded Jericho Sims to Milwaukee. You traded for DeLon Wright. He hasn't played. You signed P.J. Tucker. He hasn't played. Look, you mean to tell me both of these guys can't perform better than Precious Achiuwa right now? And I know Precious has the size over them a little bit, but you traded Jericho. Jericho's performing in Milwaukee for them. He's being utilized. They're using him.
Yeah.
And look, I agreed with the trade, but you got DeLon Wright for depth. But, I mean, you got to pivot, man. You got to pivot.
Yeah. What good is that depth if you're not using it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I would like to see Wright out there just to see what he can do. Obviously, some spot minutes, if anything. And I figure the reason PJ Tucker is not out there is because simply maybe he's just not acclimated yet. You know, Thibs doesn't like to run guys out there until they got somewhat a grasp with the system.
Yeah.
But look, like you mentioned, Precious is out there and he's literally giving you nothing, you know, just negative after negative. You know, he's in a funk. So why not switch it up? Why not get creative? Why not just see what PJ Tucker can do? You know, send him out there, see if he can cause some havoc on the defensive end, you know? So I agree. I agree that, you know, coaching staff has to get creative, man. You can't just continue to trot out someone like Precious, who's clearly just doesn't have it at this moment. And I'm not saying give up on him entirely, but, you know, sometimes you got to change it up. So, especially when things are not going well. You know, I think it's crazy to continue to send out the same lineup after lineup after lineup. That's just not effective. And Thibs is someone who, you know, Thibs says it all the time, you know, the numbers, you know, the game will tell you what to do, right? Yep. So he has these numbers. Precious obviously is not playing his role. So why not change it up? You got the proof.
Yeah, plus minus of minus 49 this season for Precious Achiuwa. This is not us bashing Precious, but we love Precious, man. But I mean, it's just, I mean, you guys see it on the court, man. It's just, I mean, sometimes you just scratch your head out there. So I mean, Al Tango said, I think Thibs is losing the locker room more so now than JB isn't there. Draymond always doing ish because he gets away with it and keeps dapping up Draymond. It's frustration, man. Mr. Corrective says it starts with this bum coach, him and Josh arguing. Now we see why this is Josh's third team. His ass need to come off the bench. Twin Towers Part 2. He's talking about Mitch and Karl Anthony Towns. Ron B says PJ can knock down some threes while Precious doesn't have an offensive game. Yeah. Ski says, I hope they get rid of Tom Thibodeau this season. El Figgy says it kills me more seeing Jericho Sims grab boards for the Bucks. Loud and Clear says it kills me watching iHeart grabbing boards against the Bucks right now. Yeah. Wayne says I like to see more of Towns and Mitch playing together. I kind of think that plan went out the window. We're seeing it in spurts, right? And obviously Mitch is on a minute restriction and he's not starting, so it's hard to get those two together at times. But I think when Hukporti went down, I think that kind of deviated from the plan, because I think as you saw Hukporti start to get more playing time, he goes down, insert, Precious, and Mitch wasn't playing in back-to-back. So I just think the rotations right now are kind of funky because of the Mitch minute restrictions, although his minutes are gradually increasing. But yeah, man, there's not anything PJ Tucker. You mean it like I need to see it. I need to see Tucker out there. I need to see some new fresh blood because in place of Precious, because it just looks like his confidence is completely shot. And look, you got to play better, but Thibs got to switch it up at the same time because those minutes are just negative. Just negative minutes coming out of there from Precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, we've seen some of that Mitch and Cat. I mean, very, very short. But when it happened, it looked really good, in my opinion. You know, the Knicks were able to play very well. And then, look, it's no secret why the Knicks are better now defensively than they were prior to Mitch's return, right? You know, we said Mitch was going to come back and help on the defensive end, but we didn't know how good or how much better we would get. And now we're what? Top 5 as of the past few games or
Last
so?
9 games, the Knicks have the second best defensive rating in the NBA. The
Yeah.
last 9 games.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I won't say that's all Mitch, but it does help when you have a defensive presence like Mitch back there, you know, that's ready to help. So, I don't know, man. I keep saying it. I want this coaching staff to get more creative. And I don't know if we'll ever really see it.
Speaking of creative, Josh Hart, Tom Thibodeau. Somebody in the chat said a lot of Tom Thibodeau. There's a lot of people don't like him, by the way, Chris, newsflash. But and the seat is, I don't know, the seat's warming up to me a little bit. I know if you guys agree, if you don't agree, but I think what you've seen especially in this past week, Mikal coming out and just pretty much saying what everyone in the media has been saying, and it just threw logs to the fire. And now you have Josh Hart seen screaming at Tom Thibodeau, and it was later debunked that Josh Hart was pretty much insinuating to Tom Thibodeau to call a play. And then Tom Thibodeau, if you read his lips, says, I am calling an effing play. I am calling an effing play. Get in the effing game. Hart didn't really have anything any leg to stand on because he was garbage in that game. But that frustration is what we're seeing. And it's like, if Hart is saying that, that means there's a disconnect there. And do you think that, I don't know, man, this past week, it's kind of been turmoil in Knicks land. And put the record aside, I'm just saying, from the PR standpoint, it hasn't been a good week for the New York Knicks.
No, it has not. I mean, look, the whole Josh Hart and Thibs going at it, that was crazy. That was crazy. I mean, like you mentioned, if your frustration is boiling to that point where you're going off on your coach and your coach is going off on you, and it's over play calling, and you know, then Thibs turns around and basically says, "Hey, play better," basically, like, get in the game, like, where's your head at? You know, that you put that together with Mikal talking about minutes and the bench should play more, which just sent the media into a frenzy, right? Because that's all that everybody talks about. You know, why does Thibs play these guys so much? Although you did have Thibs come out and he had proof, right? He was like, hey, guys, we're down early. This and that happened. So it's been an interesting week for the Knicks as far as the turmoil that's been going on. And yeah, there you see Hart and Thibs just going at it. Mm-hmm. Do I think Thibs is on the hot seat? Honestly, I don't think he is. I just don't think he is. I think this front office is just locked in with Thibs. And honestly, I think I like to see the Thibs and Hart going at it type of thing, man. It just shows you that these guys care. Obviously, there's some frustration there, but it shows you how much these guys care. They're going at each other, and I'd rather that than people pretending like everything's okay and nothing is happening, you know? I'd rather that.
What I love is Anthony Gallinaga right here. Just he has his hand on his neck, the Knicks head trainer. If you look at this video, he's like, man, nothing to see here, guys. Nothing to see here, man. Just another day. But it happens, man. It's the NBA. It happens. Look, I'm sure this stuff happens a lot in practice, and we don't see it. But it was just heat of the moment, heat of the battle. Yeah. You want to win. Frustration's boiling over. Elfie says the squabbles courtside is frustration boiling over, and I agree. But you know, just that this past week has kind of been like kind of funky for this New York Knicks team in terms of like their PR. It's kind of I wouldn't say it's taking a hit, but it just gives the media stuff to talk about. It gives us stuff to talk about. But I don't really read anything into this. But the fact that we were talking about their offensive struggles, and then Hart was pretty much saying to Tom Thibodeau, call a play, and then Tom Thibodeau was pretty much saying, I am calling an effing play. It's kind of like speaking for us, kind of. And you're like, but I'm not worried about it. Like Loud and Clear says, I'm not worried about Josh and Thibs at all. It's just, frustration, man. The guys want to win. You're in Golden State. You're at the end of the West Coast trip. You've been away from your bed for 11 days, and you want to go home. You want to win the game, and it happens, man. Players argue with coaches all the time, and it happens. But, regarding Knicks fans and, obviously they don't like Thibs. Some don't like Thibs as is. So they look at that and they're like, yeah, he's a bad coach. Yell at him. Yeah, and they love that stuff. But, I didn't really look too much into it. I just thought that it was funny breaking it all down and lip reading Tom Thibodeau. That was funny.
And plus, you gotta also, when it comes to Hart, look, he's hearing it too, right? He's struggling. It's no secret, making some bad decisions. Lately, he's been having a lot of turnovers. Obviously, teams are not respecting him and the perimeter. He's second guessing all that stuff. Josh Hart knows it. He knows he has to shoot the ball better. He has to be more decisive, especially with JB down. I'm sure that was all a part of it, right? And that's probably why Thibs went back at him too. Like, hey, get your head in the game, basically. Like figure your shit out, basically. So like, it's just all a combination of all of that happening. JB going down. I think these guys are feeling it.
Yeah. They're frustrated, and it's been one of those. It's been, look, they're third in the East right now. They're kind of solidifying themselves in the East, and if you look at their next 10 games or pull up the schedule, they can get fat on some wins. They can, take off this Press is a True graphic because it's making me nauseous. But, the Knicks' next 10 games versus Miami, at San Antonio, Charlotte, Washington, Dallas, Clippers, Milwaukee, Portland, 76ers, and Cleveland. So they can kind of solidify themselves in the top three in the East.
Yeah.
And then JB comes back after this, and, he wants to be eligible for All-NBA. I think he's 4 games to that. And then he comes back, and then you play him, 10 minutes a game, and then he's 100% for the playoffs. But they can – look, they're going to finish. They're going to finish with over 50 wins.
Yeah.
And it's like we're sitting here and picking at things, and how can this Knicks team improve? And, expectations have kind of obviously – play a part in that, but they're going to finish with over 50 wins.
Yeah,
and their defense has been improving.
It's crazy. It's been a good season. It's been a hell of a roller coaster ride. Don't get me wrong, a lot of ups and downs, and whirlwinds and turns. Yep. But look, this has been a pretty damn good season for this Knicks squad with all that turmoil, right? And I think it's a part of it is also just the expectations, right? Obviously, when you go out and you trade for Karl Anthony Towns and you bring in Mikal Bridges and you have all those immaculate vibes before the season started, and things just didn't play out the way we really expected to. They struggled defensively versus offensively when, I'm pretty sure most fans thought it was going to be the opposite side, right? So like, it's been a hell of a season, but still a pretty damn good season. And look, JB will be back soon. I know they said they gave an update and he's going to be out a little bit longer. But look, with this schedule here, I see a lot of wins for this team upcoming.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson is probably not going to get back until the beginning of April, and that could be beneficial. And I think it's kind of a blessing because it kind of makes the Knicks find different ways to win without JB, life without Jalen Brunson. And we had the great win in Portland. The offense wasn't that great down the stretch in Golden State, and I have faith that against what Ski says in the chat, bottom feeders, that this team will hopefully find a rhythm and find momentum. And, I mean, they're going to play a first-round matchup against Detroit, Milwaukee, or Indiana. And then after that, you just hope that they can get it together, because there's a lot of fans, not me, who think that they can't even get past the first round, Chris. I'm not part of that group.
I've been hearing that a lot.
But look, Detroit's tough. Detroit's really tough. And you saw JB Bickerstaff in the media yesterday pretty much screaming and, and getting, obviously, he's the coach of the Pistons, and obviously he wants to, be the voice for them. But they're going to be a tough out. Like, if we get matched up with Detroit, like, they've already given us problems this year.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. At this point, we're kind of just like in this kind of like weird stage of the season where no JB, we see the positives. Our OG starting to find himself. Mikel's, the assist numbers are up, like I said earlier, 20 assists in his last 4 games, I believe. Let me just go back to this stat. Yeah, Mikel has 16 free throw attempts in his last 4 games, 20 assists in his last 4 games. You want the offense to run more through Mikel, get his usage up now that JB is out.
Yeah.
OG Anunoby is playing phenomenal. Cat is starting to get into form. Defense is starting to improve. It's just the offense that needs a little bit of work, right? Yeah. And yeah.
And I think that will improve, obviously, once we get JB back. But
will it improve without him?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I think what we're getting right now is probably as good as we'll probably see it for now, simply because, again, I go back to the creative. I just don't see Thibs getting, and the coaching staff getting more creative, Like, I've kind of given up on it. No, as much as I keep saying I want to see it, I don't think we will. We're just going to keep seeing the same type of, Mikel, basically initiating most of the offense, But I think a big key of it also is does Josh Hart also figure it out, Because let's be honest, that's been a big part of this. Josh Hart started the season on fire, right? He was shooting the 3 ball well. He was making quick decisions. After the All-Star break, he's a completely different player now. So if he can figure it out, maybe he makes teams pay, right? So maybe it starts to look better in that regard. And I think that unlocks some things. Then you got guys, teams not being able to double Karl-Anthony Towns as easily because you can't put a center on Josh Hart and just leave him out on an island, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of things that really are kind of hampering us. But as far as things getting more and more creative, I don't see it really happening too much. That's why I say when JB gets back, I think obviously it'll get better because then you got your captain back running the ship. But at the same time, I do think, and I've mentioned this before, I think this is a good opportunity to see what we can figure out without JB. Because I think come playoffs, once things slow down, because in the playoffs, everything just slows down, I think this team is going to be as good as any other to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I think that's where you see what you're made of.
Yeah. And look, Hart had a bad game. Like he has 2 terrible games against the Warriors this year. So he's played 72 minutes against the Warriors this year. 2 points. And he is 1 of 15 from the field against Golden State. So I don't know what it is, but look, 2 points versus the Warriors this year. Prior to the Warriors game, Chris, he was doing everything that we were hoping Josh Hart to do. Quick decisions, catch and shoot stuff, the PJ Tucker effect, that game out in Sacramento, 4-6 from 3. Then the Trailblazer game, 2 of 6 from 3. Lakers game, 2 of 6 from 3. He had a, kind of like a big shot in the corner late in that game, pointing at JJ Redick. So almost had a triple-double versus the Blazers, was 1 assist away. I just think when it was a bad game, man. It was a terrible game versus Golden State. And I'm sure he's going to own it. he even had a bad sequence against Portland, right? It carried over.
Yeah.
The travel, inbounding the
The
basketball.
inbound, yep, moving while inbounding the ball.
It's just boneheaded stuff like that he has to clean up, and hopefully he will. And look, he's Josh Hart, man, heart and soul of the city. Let's not remember that. Let's not forget that. I know a lot of people, like, I've seen it all, like, about Josh Hart and all the negativity. He's the heart and soul of this team, and he does a lot of things really well for this basketball club, and the Knicks need Josh Hart to, be Josh Hart. And, we've been seeing that lately.
Nah, I
Just back
agree.
in
I
Golden State.
agree. I mean, I guess it's just a little surprising when you see him kind of out of whack, out of
Yeah.
sorts, basically. It's kind of weird to see him just, especially carrying it over from game to game. Usually you don't see that with Josh Hart. Usually he's like, he'll have a bad game and then he'll have like a string of games where he's just on fire. But we're kind of seeing, obviously, he's banged up, no surprise. He's been dealing with some nagging injuries, but if you're out there, you gotta play. You gotta make smart decisions. So
Ron B says the offense needs to push the ball to get into their sets quicker. Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
look, with no Jalen Brunson out, Deuce McBride isn't really a quote-unquote traditional point guard. I thought, even as I'm saying, he had a great game versus Golden State offensively. But in terms of the risky pass and in terms of getting people in their sets, that's not McBride's strong suit. So that's where I go to Campaign, and that's where Campaign comes in, and you ask him to kind of create a little bit and, do his little herky-jerky stuff and, get, obviously, he's an energy guy. He brings up our energy. We love him. Sometimes you scream at him at your TV. Terrible game versus Golden State, but he can come in and kind of do the creation a little bit better than Deuce, but they are lacking that with JB out, and that's why I was pointing at Tyler Kolek to get some playing time, because that's his strong suit is creating, running an offense, elite passing skills, and the whole nine for Kolek. But it's gonna look like this, guys, until JB's out, or unless Tom Thibodeau goes to the Rook. The offense could look a little bit funky at times, and it's just gonna look like this. And maybe they switch up some schemes. Maybe they have Mikal bring the ball up more. Maybe they do that, but I just think this is who they are right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And going back to Campaign, look, I just wish, obviously he comes out and, he's looking to be aggressive and score, but I wish he would just go back to kind of letting the game come to him, right? Being creating plays for other guys, get into the teeth of the defense, dish the ball out. I felt like when he was doing that earlier in the season, that's when he was really getting on a roll. He had this most minutes when he was getting other people involved, and he was still able to score and be aggressive. Now he just comes out there and he's just chucking, man. And it sucks. It sucks because that does nothing for us, If you hit a couple, great, but you miss one quick three or two quick threes, and next thing you know, that's fast break points coming down the other side for the other team.
Yeah.
I just feel like if he just did a little bit more creation and got other people involved, every time I hear you say Campaign now, I'm like rolling my eyes because I'm just like, man, like
2 assists in his last 2 games, 3 assists for Sacramento, 15 minutes versus the Trailblazers, and he's 0 of 5 from 3, and on his last 5 3-point attempts. He's actually been pretty good from 3 this year at his career average. But look, he's Campaign, right? I mean, you're not asking. I mean, right now you're asking him to do more, but I just think if you're reliant on that, it's not going to look good. It's not going to look good, and it's just where the Knicks are right now. I see loud and clear asking, is Kolek ready defensively? Look, I don't think he's ready defensively, but offensively, I think this Knicks team can get a spark by playing Tyler Kolek because of his passing ability and his 3-point ability. And look, I'm not a coach. I'm not a coach, but I just trying to find different ways how this Knicks offense can spark a little bit, Chris. And
Yeah.
look, Kolek's a rookie, and he just hasn't been playing. So
Yeah, I mean, rookies typically don't play, but I would like to
under
I would like to
Thibs,
see
you mean?
Kolek.
Rookies
Yeah, under
do
Thibs.
play.
Rookies,
Yeah,
yeah, under Thibs. Sorry, under Thibs.
they do though. I mean,
Rookies,
it's just he has to.
I mean,
The thing about Thibs is he has to see it in practice.
yeah,
If
and
he
he wants to
doesn't-
see you defend.
If he doesn't see it in practice, he is not going to play.
Yeah, I mean, and we saw it be possible with Emmanuel Quickly, right?
Yeah.
Emmanuel Quickly obviously was the guy who just worked and got better defensively, and then he was out there, and you had people saying he should have been starting and whatnot. So, shout out to IQ. He was the one to break free from that Thibs curse, right? As a rook and coming up in the league.
Yeah.
But, I would love to see Tyler Kolek out there. But, his defense, right? Obviously, it's not going to be there. But what we think is the creativity from Tyler Kolek and his 3-point shooting can possibly offset some of the defensive side of the ball when it comes to Tyler Kolek. So, at the least, see what you can get in some minutes that you would normally give Campaign, right? Because you're kind of getting nothing there.
Yeah, now you see Quentin Grimes running amok in the NBA. 30 points a night for Quentin Grimes.
I didn't want Grimes to go.
Without there would be no Mikal without Quentin Grimes. There would be no Mikal Bridges without Quentin Grimes.
I mean, let's remember Quentin Grimes.
We always knew Quentin Grimes had it in him, man. Now he's playing extremely well. And shout out to Quentin Grimes for playing well. But
all I know is Quentin Grimes said something about the ball feeling heavy or the jersey being heavy in New York, and next thing you know, he was gone.
shout out to the boys, man. Shout out to the boys. But look, we brought up the schedule. Obviously, appreciate every single one of you joining us. Smash the like button, subscribe, all the good stuff. Apple, Spotify, links are in the description. This is episode 100 of the Knicks Nation podcast. Give it up. 100 episodes of Chris and I talking Knicks. Happy, sad, angry, all the emotions. It is being a New York Knicks fan. We love it, though. And, we couldn't have got to this point without you guys. And obviously, hopefully, we can make it to 100 more episodes of the Knicks Nation podcast because I like doing this.
It's fun, man.
Yeah.
It's fun talking Knicks, man.
Chopping it up with the crew. All right. You want to get to trivia?
Let's do it.
Let's get to trivia.
All right. And here we go. Who was the first player in NBA history to make 200 3-pointers in a season? That's first player in the NBA to make 200 3-pointers in a season. Is it A, Jamal Crawford, B, J.R. Smith, C, John Starks, or D, Carmelo Anthony?
Appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for the support. This Rover, Ski, Woody. Appreciate every single one of you. Ski, loud and clear. Appreciate the support. Who was the first player in NBA history to make 200 3-pointers in a season? Is it A, Jamal Crawford, former Knick? Unfortunately, I like Jamal Crawford on the MSG broadcast too. He called his last game in Portland, and I was sad. I think NBC scooped him up and signed him. But
Yeah.
good commentary for Jamal Crawford. Shout out to him. J.R. Smith. I remember I was at J.R. Smith's first Knick game when he came over from China, I believe. And I was hyped that they signed him. And he provided a spark for us. John Starks, obviously, you know him. The band, the myth, the legend. And then Carmelo Anthony. What we got in the chat? Wayne says D. Ski says D. Ron B says, "Hey, Jamal Crawford, who was the first player in NBA history to make 200 3-pointers in a season."
200. These are all pretty good 3-point shooters, man.
Yeah, Jamal Crawford, 6 man. J.R. Smith, 6 man. So I would eliminate them. John Starks, first player in NBA history. Starks obviously played before Melo. This is tough, man. I don't know this one. I need some help from the chat, Chris. Phone a chat.
Oh man, chat's kind of all over the place with this one.
Phone a chat, man. C. Jesse says C. When I saw this question, I was thinking C. John Starks. I gravitated to John Starks, and I do remember a season with him shooting and making a bunch of threes. All right, Chris. I'm going to go with C. John Starks. Final answer.
Final answer?
Yeah. Final answer.
All right.
Oh, man.
Well, John Starks made 217 3-pointers during the 94-95 season. It's John Starks, man. He was the first player in the NBA to make 200 3-pointers in a season. Starks for 3, right?
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Shout out to John Starks. He broke Lou Dampier's record, which was 199 prior to that. And I believe that was in 69. And then it was Dennis Scott who broke John Starks' record a year later with 267 3-pointers made in the season.
How many do you have? Jamal Crawford, J.R. Smith, Melo numbers in front of you? Like, how many did they make? Like, I know, I'm pretty sure Melo did that in a single season, I'm not sure. But obviously, J.R. Smith 6 man, Jamal Crawford was a 6 man for a while. But yeah, see John Starks, Isaiah, El Figgy, Game and Logic, Jesse in the chat, all getting it right. See John Starks. I saw John Starks give you remember the Knicks fan who hit that half court shot and won the Kia Telluride? I saw John Starks at the dealership handing over the keys to him. So shout out to John Starks, man.
Believe it or not, the most threes Carmelo has hit in a season was the 2017-18 season with OKC, where he hit 169. I thought he would have had a few 200+ seasons myself, though. Crazy.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about the 94 NBA Finals with John Starks, though. I think he shot 11% from the field, if I'm not mistaken. It's just terrible shooting performance. That was 94, right? Yeah. Yeah, 94. I think it was game 7. El Figgy says, yes, it was from John Starks' dealership in Queens. Yeah, he delivered the car to the fan that hit the half-court shot. And that was awesome. Imagine going to MSG, hitting a half-court shot, and winning a car.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I would have just been happy to be on the court.
Right? I would have too. Episode 100 in the books. Promise to get some guests on soon. Promise to get some guests on soon. Once again, appreciate every single one of you for the support. Thank you for giving us your time on this Sunday evening. Knicks back home, away from the West Coast. No more late games. Let's give it up for that. No more late games. We're in crunch time now. 16 games left. Here we go. Only 16 games left. Let's do it.
Season is
JB,
flying.
get back healthy, man.
Captain, come back soon.
Get back healthy. Will you be back in time for the playoffs?
Oh, there it is.
There it is, man.
That's a yes.
Does that look like him? Yeah, it looks like him.
It's close enough. I've seen some pretty bad bobbleheads.
All right, guys. We'll catch you guys next time. I'm Anthony from Knicks Nation.
I'm Chris.
Catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.